hello everyone. Welcome to the new Kirsten Martin headquarters. Since my last video, we moved to a new house. So we've been quite busy, moving and unpacking and all those fun things. In the meantime, Squarespace have not been sleeping and we have a lot of updates, so I will dive straight into it. First of all, we have a few really great improvements for Fluid Engine. The first one is we can now duplicate blocks. How amazing is that? So basically all you do is select a block and you will now see the duplicate button here. You can also use a shortcut, Command and D, and that will duplicate the block. And it will just layer it over the old block, and then you just drag it, wherever you want it. Love this. What's also great is you can actually duplicate multiple blocks. So let's say I want to duplicate this whole section here. So I can either select everything with my mouse, or there's also a shortcut for this now, Control, Command and A. That will select all of the blocks in the section that you are in. And then again, we can just hit the duplicate button here, and then I can just take that and drag that wherever I want it. I love this. Right now we cannot duplicate blocks across sections, but I think Squarespace are working on that. Next up, we also have an improvement to the mobile layout. As you know, in mobile view, it will actually stack your blocks in the order that you added them. And oftentimes that means that we have to shift them around. Now before we had to just drag them around, but now we can actually use the up and down arrows. You might be familiar with these from the sections. We can move sections up and down, both in our web editor and also campaigns. So now, I will select this block here, and I will use my down arrow to bring it below my photo. And then, of course, you can still also manually drag it around as well. But this is a really nice feature that makes actually the reorganizing of our stack in mobile view much easier. Next up, centering. As you probably know, centering hasn't been so easy. What I used to do is, and let me actually turn on the grid for this. If I had a block and I wanted to center it, I would actually make sure that the size of the block was an even number. So here you can see, I have 5 columns, left. So it's, with the previous way of doing this, it would not have been possible to center the block as it is, because I would have either 2 on one side or 3 on the other side. So what I used to do is, I used to just make it then, bigger so that and then move it around. But now what happens, so let's say you have a block and it's not an even number, but you want to center it. So now you just drag it until you see the yellow line, the yellow vertical line, and then it will automatically have a look. It will automatically resize your block so that it can be centered. So now you can see on the left I have 2 and on the right I have 2. And now I release this and now my block is centered. Now I don't like the width here though, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce it so that I still have my even number of columns, to the left and to the right. So in this case, 2 on the left, 4 on the right. And then I'm just going to move it until I see the yellow line again. And now I have 3 on the left and 3 on the right. And now, the text within my block is aligned in the way that I like to see it. So that is a great improvement. Next up, they have made the background image effects, for section background photos a little bit easier to find and manage. So in your section editor, go to background, and then here you have your image, and then click on image effects, and then you can actually choose any of these. Now, I'm not a fan of most of them, I have to say. Now, they do have something here that is really close to parallax, so that is actually nice. I think that's probably the only one that I would maybe use again. We all loved our parallax effect in 7.0 Brian templates, right? So now we can select something similar. And then as always, we have some, some options here, to change the intensity, the angle, and all of that, so you can actually customize your parallax effect now, which is quite nice. Then next up, they also changed the wording for the viewport. I think viewport was a little confusing to people. They didn't really know what that meant. So here now under section where it says fill screen, if you toggle this, this is now where you can create, your viewport, height and alignment. So they've just changed the name for this. If you don't want to have padding at the top or bottom of your section, you just toggle this off and then, it will snap right to the edge. This is a really nice feature. I like this a lot. Next up, we have a couple of campaigns. Well, actually, one campaigns change and one change to do with email marketing. So now when we add images in campaigns, yay, we have our asset library. You have now finally access to this. We haven't had this for the longest time. So now I can just go to select from library, and now I can select a photo that I already use on my website, or I can also connect to the free images, via Unsplash. You cannot use Getty here. Getty is only available for the website, not for campaigns. But this is really nice. This is a great improvement. Then you might remember when you add a newsletter block to your web page, and if you didn't connect it to an email list, so let's just go into our editor for the newsletter block. If you didn't connect a storage method, so basically usually an email list, you would get an error, and then it just wouldn't work. And then if you saved it, it would basically be blank on the live website. So that was always a little irritating. So now that doesn't happen anymore. Now when you add a newsletter block, it will automatically connect to campaigns. It will not connect to any list in campaigns. So if you haven't created a list in campaigns, you can already still start to collect email addresses. So even if you haven't used campaigns yet, if you add a newsletter block and you don't do anything else, you will be able to collect email addresses. So this is basically what it will look like, and then someone can just add their email address here. And what happens is, they still get the confirmation email if that is what you have selected. If you're not using the reCAPTCHA, if you use reCAPTCHA, then you have the option to turn off the confirmation email. But by default, you always have the confirmation email. Once someone has confirmed that, where do they get added if we're not using a list? Well, what happens is if you go to profiles, they are here now. So basically, this is the email address that signed up, and it basically accepts marketing now. It will set the marketing flag in profiles for someone. And then, when you are ready to send a campaign, you can just send the campaign to anyone who accepts marketing. That will then include people on your mailing list, if you have any, or people like this who just signed up, but they didn't, get added to a specific mailing list. So in a way, you can already start collecting emails without actually having to create a mailing list, and you will be able to send a campaign to these people. Now, generally, I still recommend to create a mailing list, because now, if you go into campaigns and you look at your mailing lists, you can see, here, nobody has been added, to the mailing list. But the nice thing about a mailing list is you can be more targeted with your email campaigns, And you can also set up automations, for instance, to send someone a welcome email, which I think is a really nice touch. So with this, with this general method, that doesn't happen. They just get added, they confirm, it says, yeah, okay, you're now, you will now receive marketing emails from Kirsten Martin, and that's it. There's no welcome email, there's no nurture sequence or anything like that. However, as you're just getting started, if you haven't had time yet to set up your email campaigns, you can already at least start collecting email addresses. So that's pretty nice. And we don't have this, annoying error anymore that we used to have. Then we have a couple of commerce updates here. We can now customize our icon for the shopping cart a little bit. So this happens if you go into Edit Site Editor, go to Elements, and then here, this is where you can turn the cart on and off. And if I turn it on, I can now, as before, I have the icon, I can change the icon size, but I can also have text now if I don't want to have the icon. And you can even customize this text, so you can, change what it says. And you can also remove the 0. So if nobody has made a purchase, it doesn't show the 0 here. So, some small improvements that are pretty nice. Another commerce update is if you go to your inventory in your shop, you will now have a panel here on the left for all your product types. That's really nice. So if you have physical products and services, for instance, you can basically filter these down now. So for instance, I have physical products and services, and I really like this option. Then a more general update, when you connect a custom domain to Squarespace, we always had to go into the DNS settings with our registrar to make some changes. They have now introduced another method called Nameserver Connect, and that method is a guided method. Now, I haven't tested this yet, so I can't say much more about this, but if you're interested in this, definitely check it out. Just go to the help pages and, put in Nameserver Connect versus DNS Connect to learn more about it. Last but not least, Squarespace App. Do you use the Squarespace app? I love it. It's a really great tool. So I recorded actually my phone to show you some changes that they've added to the app. They're really great changes. So I'll just play my little recording and I hope that works now. So open up your Squarespace app and then go to the Commerce tab at the bottom. And this is where you will see all your orders, inventory, discounts, and there is a new tab now at the top called Promote. And that is the marketing kit that Squarespace have now added to the app. And when you tap on that, then it should, okay, I just have to wait a moment, here we go. Then it will show you some pre-made, reels, stories, social media posts, and it will use the images that are associated with your product. So any images that you've added to your product, you will be able to use here. You can select from your products. You can use, your physical products or your service products, and it will, again, it will gather everything for you. This is really nifty, and then once you've decided on something, you can actually edit it as well, and then you can just save it, and then you can use it, on your social media. You also have some options to update your brand, so if you go to the top right-hand corner where it says your brand, here it will show you the logo and your colors. It takes all of this information from your website, but you can also customize it here. So you could use a different logo, for instance. You can add colors. You can also edit the fonts. Now, the fonts are a little bit limited here in this app. So it doesn't necessarily show you your fonts that you're using on your website, but still, this is a good start. And so I just stick with the public source font, that is the default font that it uses. But yeah, I think it's really nice that it lets you do this. And so I look forward to playing around with this a little bit. I have to update my shop and add some new images for my 2023 planner. But I think this is pretty nifty. Yeah, and that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed these updates. If you like them, give me a little like, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.